know the profile. So I landed in this organization of brilliant people. I felt like all of my colleagues were brilliant, and it's not like I felt like I didn't belong there, but I felt really lucky to work there. All these brilliant people, and so I watched. And I studied, and I also got thrown into management because Oracle is growing really rapidly, and I'm 24 years old and a year out of business school, and they say, Liz, we need someone to run training for the company. You're now in charge of training. You guys have all been there, putting people in charge when they really have no business being in charge of it. They're like, you're in charge of training, and Larry Ellison wants a university, so go build Oracle University. I'm 24 years old. And my only real qualification for this job is that I had recently been at a university. So they're like, you know what, you, warm pulse, got a brain, you're in charge of this. So I watched, and I watched what the executives and the leaders around me were doing, trying to figure out just how to keep up with this pace. And I noticed something about intelligence. I noticed that intelligence, raw intellect, brain power, doesn't always breed intelligence. That really smart people don't always cause smarts around them. Have you ever seen a really, really smart person suck the intelligence out of a room? See, I noticed that some of the leaders that I worked with were smart, were brilliant. Many of them were genius level intellect, but some of them, when they walked in a room, I saw people hold back and start to play it safe, and in some ways dumb down. And I watched some of my colleagues, really smart, capable people, go into a room with one executive and be a fraction of themselves and their capability. But then, and I ended up calling these leaders who seemed to drain intelligence from others, I came to call them diminishers, because they were diminishers of intellect and of talent. But I noticed another kind of leader, some of whom I've heard mentioned here today, who were equally smart and capable, but they had a very different effect on the people around them. Okay, when they walk in a room, light bulbs start going off over people's head. People sort of sit up, and they're bolder and more capable, more willing to take ownership around these kind of leaders. And I was fascinated by this. Why do some leaders seem to drain intelligence and others seem to amplify that? Here's what I want you to do. I think I have a quick little video. It's maybe a minute and a half video on the difference between a multiplier leader and a diminisher leader. And what I really want to encourage you to do while you're listening to this is just think about who was a diminisher to me. And I want you to scan back across your career. And I also want you to think about who was, do you already have many candidates? He's like, pick me for the job. And who was a multiplier to you? What is the fate of the smart and the talented? The corporate world finds smart, talented people and promotes them into management. But many of these leaders never look beyond their own capability to see the full genius on their team. Have you ever worked around someone who made you feel smarter and more capable? We call these leaders multipliers. Have you ever worked around someone who made you question your own intelligence? We call these leaders diminishers. They may hire smart people, but they quickly put other people in the background. They are smart leaders, but they shut down the smarts of others. Diminishers come at such a high cost, they waste talent and intellect that sits right in front of them. Organizations can't afford diminishers. Multipliers come from all walks of life, from corporate boardrooms to our school's classrooms. They are leaders like Lut Ziob, Bill Campbell, Wangari Maathai, and many more. These people are real, and the way they lead can be learned and it can be developed. What would happen in your organization if you operated more like a multiplier? Imagine what is possible with access to all the intelligence that sits in your organization.